Sunday, August 9, and the president has signed 4 executive orders on stimulus, and I'm going to break them all down for you right now. Number 1, a deferral of federally held student loans through the end of the year. That means 0 interest being accrued and no payments necessary. This is a continuation of the CARES Act and is really good for people who have federal student loans. I don't necessarily see this being challenged in court, although here's something to think about. If the president can just declare that all student loans have 0% interest, federal student loans, what's to stop a Democratic president coming in and saying, okay, well, all federally owned student loans are 0% forever and no one ever needs to make a payment, effectively cancelling out everyone's student loans? Something to think about. Number 2, a halt on all evictions for properties where the mortgage is held by Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae, the federal mortgage backers. This is a good thing for people who can't pay their rent, although it does set another dangerous precedent where the government can just come in between 2 private contracts and nullify the terms. We'll see how this goes. It's just an extenuation of the CARES Act, so I don't really see this being a huge problem. But again, we have to wait and see what happens with these various lawsuits that I'm telling you are coming. Number 3. A payroll tax deferral for people earning under $100,000 through the end of this year. This will essentially give people about 7.5% more money in their paycheck per week. The problem is you're going to have to pay it back at the end of the year. This is really quite dangerous because, as Donald Trump said, unless he is re-elected, there's a real chance you're going to have to repay all that money. And again, even if he is re-elected, he's going to have to work with Congress to forgive that money, which we can't. I mean, will that happen? Look at the way we've been polarized on this last stimulus debate. So this is a really dangerous thing. As an employer, as I'm paying people on a W-2, there is no way on God's green earth that I wouldn't still be sending my portion of the payroll tax to the government. So if you are an employee earning under $100,000, what I would do is just ask to continue to pay that money because it's just too confusing and there's too much unknown about whether you're going to have to pay back thousands of dollars at the end of the year. This is also a dangerous thing for Donald Trump politically because he said if he gets re-elected, he's going to cancel payroll tax forever. This is dangerous because people approaching retirement age need that Social Security, and Social Security is funded by these payroll taxes. I think this could go either way for him. It could be something that wins him some votes, but I think honestly, it's actually going to hurt him more in places like Florida, where you have a large retirement community who are worried about the Social Security, and rightly so. Number 4, the big one. Unemployment is extended by $400 through the end of the year, with the states having to kick in 25% or $100. So essentially, the federal government is going to up your unemployment by $300. Now, how are they going to pay for that? They're going to use the FEMA disaster fund, which is typically used for natural disasters like hurricanes or floods. At the moment, there's only $44 billion in that fund. And part of this executive order says if the fund drops below $25 billion, then those payments, those unemployment payments, stop. So if we do some math, there's about 4.8 weeks of unemployment money there. The other big sticking point of this is the states can't use the regular unemployment methods to pay this money to people because they can only do that through the Social Security Act. So they're going to have to set up another way to fund people, which is just going to take more time, weeks, possibly months to get this money out to people, which doesn't help us right now. Also, many of the states are already in the deep red. I know New York, at least, is $20 billion over budget because of these unemployment payments. They simply do not have the extra $100 to pay people. I think this is going to cause a lot of confusion. People saying, well, where's my money? And the government saying, the states saying, well, we don't have the system set up to pay this. Also, we don't have the money to pay this. And then the money running out way too quickly. This puts the ball straight back on the Congress. Again, it's a great PR stunt by the president, but whether it can work out is to be decided. Also, all of these executive orders are going to be challenged in the courts, and not necessarily just by the Democrats. There's a lot of non-governmental bodies who are watchdogs for this kind of stuff, and I'm sure there'll be an injunction straight away. An injunction means that all of this will be stopped anyway until it can move its way through the courts, which can take months. So he's trying to establish a wedge issue here and saying he's coming to the rescue of the American people, and he is in his own way. But ultimately, this puts the ball back to Pelosi, back to Schumer, back to Mnuchin, and back to Meadows to come up with some sort of deal. As I said in my last video, the Senate did not take recess and neither is the House, so negotiations will be ongoing, and hopefully we can come to an actual deal by the end of this week. So that's my breakdown on the executive orders. Please like and subscribe, ask any questions, leave some comments, and I'll be with you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.
This a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta keep